Good morning. Good morning. Jack is somehow still alive. He's awake. If Georgia Tech would have won in 27 overtimes yesterday, this podcast would have been a solo one. All right. Where would you like to start? 8 overtime game. First of all, okay. How about this? Why don't we start here? Did they have to go for overtime? Or did they have to go for 2 points in the second overtime? That's the
Yes.
I thought that was the third overtime. So I'm watching. I didn't have the sound on. I'm like, Georgia Tech's got big balls. Look at them. They're going for it in the second overtime. Then they don't get it. Georgia gets the touchdown. I don't have the sound on. So I'm like, all right, game over. But they have to go. So quick recap of the rules. I'll set the scene and then you just roll. So after the first overtime in college football, the second overtime, you have to, if you score a touchdown, you have to go for 2-point conversion. Okay.
Yeah.
So
And it used to be they played three normal, like from the 25s. I think
right.
it's we'll play two now. And you go for it on the second one instead of the third. So
And then if it's tied after the second overtime, we're basically just going in backyard football. Each team gets a play, and that lasts another 20 minutes. I mean, it was the best, unbelievable. I don't really have a rooting interest. I mean, I'll root for Georgia because I'm down here, but I'm not like bleeding Georgia Bulldogs here. But go ahead, just talk about the game. What a great, wild game. How do you feel? You were there. You're still here. So go ahead, talk to me.
well, I mean, Tech was the better team in regulation. They were. They probably should have won that game. They fumble in a really bad time, give Georgia a chance, and Georgia are they're professionals, so they go out and take advantage and score. They do exactly what you expect them to do. Yeah, Tech was better all game. It's
It
like
was
it.
20. Sorry, just to cut you. So just to be clear, 27-20. First of all, it's 27-13. Georgia gets a touchdown. Georgia Tech just has to run out the clock. It's 3rd and 1. And then we can't tell if he got the first down. It's like, oh, it's going to depend on the spot. It's going to depend on the spot. And it's like, nope, he fumbled. He did exactly what the Raiders basically did earlier in the day. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, he fumbles the ball. Georgia gets it. Then we go to overtime. What was your feelings? What's the emotions? What's your confidence level as the overtimes are happening? Because I'm assuming the first overtime, you're like, all right, we got this. And then it's just what, 4 or 5 heart attacks in 20 minutes?
It is literally every time Georgia started with the ball first, I was like, we're going to lose. And every time they didn't score, they had ball first. Tech had a chance to win the game. I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm about to actually watch Georgia lose to Georgia Tech at home in a night game. And it's not really a must win because halfway through you start thinking like, oh, well, we can still make the playoffs though. Like we're still gonna be fine and stuff. You're like justifying it to yourself, and then the overtimes keep going. Yeah, I mean,
And there was no controversial calls in overtime, right? Like it was a pretty clean overtime situation.
they called one flag. They
When
called a
Georgia,
DPI, and it was probably a DPI. It was a close one,
and
but
he didn't get it. That was then
yeah,
Georgia Tech tried to run it in, right? And he didn't get it.
and it was the right play call. If I'm Georgia Tech, I'm doing the exact same thing there. I think what you saw there is that Georgia probably could have run the ball 3 OTs prior and probably won the game. If they weren't trying to throw every time, the run was there the whole time. They just didn't have the balls to call it until the 8th overtime.
That is the type of loss in the Georgia Tech. Like from a gambling perspective, there's no jumping off the bridge because Georgia Tech covered easily. It's a 17.5-point
For a
spread.
ridiculous line. I have no clue why that was upset.
But then if you're betting the under, you're dying as this fourth quarter is happening. What was the number? Was it 50? I forgot what the number was, but it was I think it was 51. So once it got to overtime, that obviously screwed you. But like just from a coaching standpoint, I haven't coached Division I college football yet, but I've coached enough where you train yourself to just be like, it is what it is. Like you just move on. But that is Kirby Smart felt like he gave him a hug for 30 minutes after the game. That coach for Georgia Tech, what's his name again?
Oh, shoot.
Something Key.
Yeah. Damn, what's his name?
But he's done a great job.
Yeah.
And the quarterback. And how old's the quarterback? Do you know?
Haynes King, I think he's either a true junior or a true senior. He's just really good.
I like him a lot. I like him on Sundays. I like smart football quarterbacks. I like him a lot. Yeah, he is a junior. 6'3". I like him a lot. I was super impressed. He's from Texas A&M, right?
I think so. And the big thing is his arm's done. He can't throw really. Like he tries to, but his shoulder, like he can't throw past 10 yards, basically. So whenever you saw him rip one, that is like him throwing through
I had the whole game one without the sound.
structural shoulder injury. So like, yeah.
Brett Key, by the way, is his name. Great job. He did a fantastic job. Georgia Tech loses an absolute heartbreaker. But yeah, if we spin it forward, I guess it'll matter for seeding because now Georgia can lock up a bye if they beat. It's gonna be Texas. Wait, depends, right?
Depends. Now this is the craziest day yet. You thought yesterday was crazy. It gets even crazier today.
Georgia basically, it's Texas or Texas A&M, or can Tennessee or not Tennessee?
I think it's Texas versus Texas A&M. I've heard some people saying Tennessee might have a chance. I don't think they do. I think
they're in Tennessee's on the side of Georgia, so they're not going to be able to get it.
Because it's one conference now, so which is what screws it up. That's what screws it up because A&M and Tennessee haven't played. They don't have a lot of mutual games played against same teams, so their tiebreaker between each other really doesn't make sense. It should be Tennessee because they're the better team. But we don't really know yet. It might be.
A&M has the inside track. If a couple things go sideways, Tennessee can win. But Tennessee would probably prefer to just win and then Texas win, and they can just make the tournament without having to play and potentially get not. You know what? This playoff thing is so effing ridiculous. If someone's going to get a full-time job like your age, just explaining this on the internet, like no gambling advice, just here I am every 30 minutes with an update, because this is insanity. They think the NFL is hard at the end, or it's like, all right, we got a tie, we get this. But you can't tie in college football, right? So there's no tie. So that's out of the window. Anyway, let's just talk about the games. Why don't we just so Georgia wins. They're going to play Texas A&M, or Tennessee. We'll say one of those three. How do you see this Texas A&M game playing out? Because A&M has to win, right? If they lose, they will not make the tournament. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, they I think they have 3 losses now. So they are fully done unless they win this game. This is their only chance.
And they're home. It is, with all due respect to where you were last night, I think it's going to be even a better environment, a wild game. How many fans, by the way? What was the percentage last night of Georgia Tech fans?
It was cold. There were a lot of Tech fans. Like, I was in the student section. It was like 60%, 40%. Like, there were 40% of the people were Tech fans. There were a bunch in the state.
That will not be the case tonight, will it? Will Texas get it 40% of the crowd in there to A&M?
They'll get a shocking amount, not 40%. A&M will show up too.
How do you say playing out, man? That's the game tonight. Everybody can basically get some water, get some Gatorade, relax. I don't think this Michigan-Ohio State game is going to be too entertaining. So how do you see this Texas A&M game playing out tonight?
Well, Texas is a great defense, and I think they can, again, kind of stop Texas's run game, which is a big issue for Texas. When Texas can't run the ball well, they don't play good football. Georgia did it to them. A couple weeks ago, Vandy did it to them too, or it was Arkansas. Arkansas did it to them as well. And when you are able to make
that game,
when you're forced to when you force Quinn Ewers to be the main guy, throw the ball, do all this stuff, they don't look as good. The issue is Texas A&M also has to score. I think Texas lines up really favorably defensively against Texas A&M. I think that it being at home makes it really interesting, but I probably think Texas still wins it.
And Ewers, it's a showcase for him. Everybody's watching. He's trying to figure out his career because he's either going to the NFL or somewhere else because Arch is going to push him out of there, isn't it?
No, yeah. Next season is Arch's season. This is Ewers' last shot. He has to go out swinging, whatever he needs to do to get a job. But, yeah, he needs to really show up today.
Is there an NFL comp for Quinn Ewers? You've seen a lot of them. What's the first? Does he have Bo Nix in him? Does he have give me somebody.
I really don't like him at the NFL level. It's maybe like a Brandon Allen, like kind of a career backup. I don't see life in it.
You just went Brandon Allen, who we saw get destroyed by the Packers. That's not the biggest endorsement of Quinn Ewers.
I don't think he's got the confidence. I don't think the arm talent's good. I don't think it's good enough from what I've seen. And the confidence is a big problem. He really that.
How did you leave the game last night? Circle back to Carson Beck for a second. What round? He's going to get at least 2 more games, maybe 3 or 4. But after last night, draft stock up or down?
He led a comeback. but he was awful in the first half.
They didn't score any points. How did you guys not score any points in the whole half, right?
Well, we could have kicked. We just chose not to kick for some reason, and then just ran on 4th and 1. So I mean, I think he's a day 2 guy. He's a day 2 guy. He stayed day 2. I think he's a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Because he's really tall, and what you can't really tell in the broadcast, he throws really hard. Like he throws that football incredibly.
That's why
hard.
he was projected to be the top pick, because he's got the best arm probably in the nation.
It's an absurd arm with the physical ability that he has, being like I think 6'5", something like that.
The way he ran to that sideline to set up, what was that? I can't remember now if it's overtime or the fourth quarter, but yeah. So all right. Anyway, let's. I'll go back to this Georgia game all day. So Texas A&M, you got being more of a defensive battle. Do we really need to spend too much time on Ohio State, Michigan, or should that be? And really, it's kind of irrelevant anyway, because Ohio State is headed.
They can still make it. I mean, look, Michigan has won the last 2 or 3, maybe. So history's on their side, but the teams definitely aren't. Probably an Ohio State win. It's also in Ohio, so it's a rough one for Michigan.
Let's do Big 12 then for a second. Colorado. Okay, Oklahoma State. No, seriously, this is not hyperbole. If I was in charge of that program, the university, I think I would just get rid of the football team for next year. I think we're just taking a year off. They had 7 personal fouls. They have no first downs.
They're really
seriously, that I've never seen a college football game start. Like, what in God's name is happening? They throw it in. That was, if you watch part of that Colorado first quarter, the first like 10, 15 minutes, you'd be like, oh, Oklahoma's like, all right, this is the fix, is it? Like 100%. Everybody on Oklahoma State, T-Boone Pickens back from the dead is betting on Colorado. That was the worst performance in a game, because I just turned it on and I don't really fucking care one way or the other. I want Deion to lose, but I'm like, all right, maybe I'll have some entertainment here by the end of the game. Oh my God. So that happens. Just an embarrassment. Mike Gundy's a joke. He said something about like DUIs aren't a big deal. Do you remember talking about that before?
He says he'll go out because he's got the most job security in the nation. So he'll just go out and say the craziest shit in an interview, and you'll be like, there is no other coach in college football that can get away with saying this year in, year out. He does.
I don't really enjoy like lecturing about things that we all pretty much agree on, like don't drink and drive. That doesn't seem like something that we need to take our time. But when you have like the biggest culprits of that are kids your age, right? Like that's who commits drinking and driving. So Oklahoma State star running back gets caught with a DUI, and Gundy comes out before the air like, yeah, we all do it. I've done it a million. I'm just like, anyway, they don't win one Big 12 game. They're god awful. But the relevance of Colorado winning means we got 3 games today that really, really matter. This is the one aspect of the playoffs that's really cool. So let's start with Arizona, because Arizona is supposed to be better than Arizona State. Somehow they're not. They're 8.5-point underdogs today. Arizona State wins, and basically Arizona State and Iowa State win. They're going to be in. Let's just kind of keep it at that. Does Arizona have a chance against Arizona State? I haven't really followed it enough to know that the records are supposed to be flipped. Like before the year, it was one thing, but now Arizona's an 8.5-point underdog. I want to take the rival at home in the desert. Help me out.
I love Arizona today too. I think they can win outright. They have Noah Fafita, Teteroa McMillan on the offense. That's QB and the wide receiver. They're really good offensively sometimes. I think of them very similarly to like a Kansas, where like the talent's there. They can go out and beat a team. The issue is they haven't been doing a lot of it. I could see them though, just again, rivalry weekend, rivalry game, just going out and winning the game. And it feels like a pretty reasonable upset that could happen. It also the biggest chaos possibility in the Big 12. So I kind of love just seeing that happen as well.
So that's the earlier game. That's a standalone game around 3, 4. It's actually really cool how they did the Big 12. They separate all the games. So that one's at 3:30, 4 o'clock-ish. And then the second one is at 7:30, Iowa State, Kansas State. I always like Kansas State. They got the old school coach, the old school feel. But Kansas State cannot get in. So they're playing spoiler. They're in a tough spot because they really don't have much to play for. It's not a rivalry game. It's a rivalry, but not the typical rivalries we see today. And Kansas State's already going to make the tournament. With that being said, how do they match up against Iowa State? It's only a 2.5-point spread. I mean, feels like to take Iowa State. They have to win. Kansas State doesn't. Thoughts?
I like Iowa State too. They're a typical Iowa program, so good defense, great running back is what you're looking at there. Basically, Kansas State still has a really fun quarterback, but a really young quarterback, and he plays young. So basically, it comes down to how Avery Johnson's feeling. If he feels like having a great game and goes out and plays spectacular, they'll probably beat Iowa State. More likely than not, though, I don't see him having the best game. I think Iowa State probably can handle business.
So assume Iowa State wins and Arizona State wins, or at least one of those two teams win. One loses, one wins. Then it comes down to my Jewish brother at 10 o'clock at night. The only game it's on, what Notre Dame's going to play at 7, I think, right? Yeah, Notre Dame's at 3:30. So yeah, the late game. I can almost guarantee one of these two teams is going to lose because this BYU game is going to matter. Deion's going to be up late. They'll all be hanging out watching, and BYU will definitely beat Houston, right? Like that's how Deion's night ends. Or am I off here?
The issue is that BYU is kind of spiraling. They've lost 2 in a row. They've kind of hit a wall, and they're kind of panicking right now. They should beat Houston. There's
Houston's
no
awful, right?
Yeah, Houston's not good. This should be a win. There's no reason it shouldn't be. BYU's got a great defense. They're typically really good at beating teams worse than them, but the issue is that they're spiraling currently. I think they can right the ship if they have to. If it's like win and get into the championship game, I think they can do that.
That's what's going to happen. You can just picture it like the two complete opposite programs. BYU, no transfer, Mormons, and then the Jewish quarterback, no headlines. And then Colorado, you got to give Deion credit, even though I don't like him. I talk about him all the time, so he's been winning. And that's what it's going to come down to tonight. I don't know if Arizona wins or Iowa State wins, Kansas State wins. But just the way sports works is that game will be relevant. So, all right, that's the Big 12. Let's stick with Notre Dame for a second because they're going to play at 3:30. That, to me, I can't wait to watch this game because USC, I have a feeling USC is going to clip them. I just do. Notre Dame's at USC. It is what the typical Notre Dame has everything to play for. They win. They're into the playoffs. Big check coming. Is there first handicap the game and then let me know, can Notre Dame sneak in even if they lose? Like what's going to be the case for that? But first handicap the game for me. USC, they got the backup quarterback guy in there now, right? So
yeah, but he's been solid. The backup's been kind of pretty solid for USC. The issue is that I don't think they have the guys in the trenches to hang with Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a great offensive line, a great defensive line. It's going to be tough for USC. The quarterback's young. They're going up against a really tough defense. If he can find a way to score early, it's a momentum thing. If he can get it going, they will roll. And I think that, I wouldn't be shocked to see a Notre Dame stinker. I can see them offensively coming out and not looking the best. I'm leaning Notre Dame just because I've seen them play. The offense should, at this point, work like a well-oiled machine. It's basically just hand the ball off 20, 30 times a game and then throw when you need to. And that should work against USC. But if they lose, they go out and lose. 2-loss Notre Dame probably still makes it just because they're Notre Dame. I think because it's such a storied franchise, I think they'll find a way in. I don't think they should. I think there are a lot of teams that probably deserve it more. That would be 2 pretty bad losses, but I think that they'll still find a way to sneak in.
That's going to be a really, really good game today. An early start out west because it'll be 12:38 for them. It's a 3:30 kickoff. It's a lot of weird things for Notre Dame. Like you said, if USC gets that lead early, to me that's a live bet. I don't talk about that too often, but if you want to live bet certain games, you try to think how it's going to play out right ahead of time, and then if you're right on how it starts, then put that bet in. That was easy money. 2-3 years ago now with the Chiefs. That was like automatic money. As soon as they get down, they're just going to come back. We'll get the Chiefs in a second, but let me stick with a couple other games here. Indiana and Penn State, they get really easy games. Purdue and Maryland, any chance that we're going to see an upset there or no?
No, it's not. Purdue's not beating anyone. Maryland could make it a little difficult, but no. no, it should be fine for both of them.
What about Kyle McCord and Syracuse? I like them against Miami today. They're getting 11 points. That seems like too many. It's a 3:30 afternoon game. Miami has to win. They have to win that game. Syracuse, same spot as Kansas State. They've made a bowl. This game doesn't matter. Hard to kind of get up for it, except, I don't know, you're playing the Heisman Trophy. You're playing a top quarterback. How does Syracuse match up with Miami here?
So I think this is a game where you're going to see two quarterbacks basically just throw for 400 yards. Because at this point, McCord just chucks it. Like, it's like I've been watching him. His over on passing yards has been like, I need to take it because it's been sneaky free for the last couple of weeks. He just throws the ball.
Is he an NFL guy? Is he a day one? Not day one, maybe day two?
He could be a really fun late round pick that ends up being pretty good because
like Gardner Minshew. Like a Gardner Minshew or something like that?
Yes, because the arm talent's there. He can throw it, and he can keep him in the game with Miami. The issue is that, and he's been playing well, when he plays bad, it's really, really, really hard to watch. It's like 4 picks, 0 touchdowns, 120 yards. I think Miami wins. I can definitely see Syracuse covering, though.
Did Ohio State make the right decision, what you've seen from him and Will Rogers, to essentially push him out of that program?
They made the right decision for winning college football games. I think they made the wrong decision from a recruiting point of view because once you start going to transfer quarterbacks, you see with Notre Dame, you kind of get stuck in a cycle. Because Will Howard is a great college quarterback, but I don't see NFL life in him. He moves fine. He doesn't move good enough for the NFL. He doesn't throw well enough for the NFL. And with McCord, they could have developed him, and I think he could have led the offense probably just as well, but he was less of a safe option.
How much of it was the coaching staff wanting to move on / the fans? I mean, they were rough. They were brutal against him. I felt like after that Michigan game, I thought he played really well last year. So, but that's usually what happens is the noise around the program can kind of influence it. But yeah, to your point, if I'm now a 17-year-old kid, I'm like, I'm going to Ohio State. If I don't play well right away, they're just going to ship me out. There's so many interesting dynamics now running the team. Like literally college football programs have general managers now. Just because the coach can't, it's the same thing as the NFL. Like the coach can't discipline you and then trade you. So it's like, it's just crazy. It really is. Like living through it right now is pretty wild. I was watching back to the Oklahoma State game yesterday. They were flashing a stat saying that they haven't lost. They haven't been winless in the conference since the Big 8. And then I finally felt young again. I was like, I don't remember the Big 8. This is great. I'm always like reminiscing about what conferences used to be. I'm like, I don't remember the Big 8. I've heard of it, but I don't remember it. So that was nice. All right, there's a million games today, so I'll let you get out some bets if you want to get them out, but I'm going to let you roll in about 5 minutes here. But I do want to talk about the Chiefs for a second because I know it's going to get lost by the time I see you on Tuesday. Tomorrow I'm going to talk all NFL. Monday we'll sit here and recap the NFL, and it's like, what? I do not believe. God, I should get my books out here. I don't know if I get more subscribers or people start leaving if they saw the books that I read, because I will read anything. I love if you're going to write, and it's controversial, it's political, it involves war. Sign me up. I'll read it. So with that being said, I don't adopt any conspiracy theories with football. Like, in fact, I get angry and annoyed when people are like, yeah, the fix is in. But what the hell happened on that last play? Isn't that just supposed to be a false start? Did you see it? And can you help me out? Because the Raiders are about to beat the Chiefs again. O'Connell is leading a fourth quarter drive like he's freaking Dan Marino. Perfect. Everything's set up. I thought the center on the Raiders was going to have a heart attack. Like he was freaking out. Anyway, if you didn't see it, they snapped the ball when they weren't supposed to. And then it leads to a fumble. Everyone, including the announcers, are like, it's a false start. Clock already stopped, so it won't be a 10-second runoff. Instead, it's a legal shift. And the game, is that the right call? What happened there?
It should be a false start. It's a false start. I don't know why they don't call a false start. Yeah, I mean, look, I've watched Chiefs games.
Are you one of those?
Look, this happens with good teams in any sport. They'll get the calls. It happens to a lot of good teams. It's just kind of how it is. They kind of want to – I don't know why. Maybe it only gets noticed because the team's good, but the Chiefs do get a lot of calls to go their way. You need a little bit of luck to be a dynasty. They just get a little bit of luck sometimes. That's really lucky. This year has probably been, they're probably using up all their luck this year because it's been absurd. But yeah, they win those kind of games. Like that's what the Chiefs are right now. It's like it's ugly. They don't look good doing it, but they're winning the games, which is the crazy part about it.
Right. It's obviously not fixed. There's a 0% chance of that happening. But at the same time, my goodness, like that's how the game ended. I'm sure the technicality will explain it, but yeah, the guy snaps it, and it's like, isn't that just a false start? Brutal loss for the Raiders. Antonio Pierce should just be brought back for the road games at Kansas City, and then just fire, like let someone else coach the program. But he apparently knows what he's doing when they're at Kansas City on a holiday weekend because the Raiders were great yesterday, and Mahomes is seen yelling at Andy Reid about his like right tackle. Like, can we get this guy off the field? They ended up moving, what's his name, Smith, their best guard, to the tackle spot. That is, they got away with it. It burned them on one Super Bowl with Tampa. It looks like they've gotten away with it, obviously, the past two Super Bowls. They will not beat the Ravens, Bills, Steelers. They're not going to win all these games if they can't protect the quarterback. Checo came back. Finish out the pod here with forecasting where the Chiefs end up. Like they're 11-1 now. Do they get the 1 seed? And then how do you see the playoff run playing out for them?
They'll probably get the 1. And I wish they feel like a divisional loser, but they're the Chiefs. So they probably aren't. They're probably going to find a way to the AFC Championship game. And then again, it's the Chiefs. I can't predict them losing at any point because it's Patrick Mahomes. It's so ugly every game. But what people forget is that they're still winning all these games. Like they're 11-1. I think that the Bills can beat them this year. I think they can lose in the AFC Championship game to the Bills. The Ravens need to figure them out a little bit. They've really struggled just playing the Chiefs in general. Once they can get over that hump, they're a good enough team to win. But I'll say AFC Championship. I can see them losing.
I did forget one more thing. I told myself that I was only going to do a couple minutes with you. But, like, were you able to enjoy Thanksgiving despite what your Bears are doing with 33 seconds left?
Shit. Oh, well, he's fired. He's gone now.
But wasn't that Caleb? All right, I'm going to go first. I blame Caleb Williams. Why are we switching the play? All he had to do was snap it at 13 seconds left, and he switched the play.
The coach's job to call the timeout. Like, Caleb's doing – I don't know what he's doing. He doesn't know where the clock is. I'll be honest, I hadn't paid attention to the clock because there were 30 seconds left when it happened.
Figured you had enough
time. I don't know why Eberflus doesn't call the timeout. You're watching your rookie QB kind of panic. You got to call a timeout. You just got to call a timeout. I don't know what he's doing. He
got fired because this is what happens at the Boys and Girls Club. If a kid makes a mistake, they're never in trouble with me. Like, we're allowed to write things up. I probably lead the country in Boys and Girls Club volunteers that don't write things up. Like I won't write you up if you admit what you did. Like, because that's just a big thing for me. I couldn't believe Eberflus came out and he's like, yeah, I would have done the same exact thing.
I think he doesn't want to be the coach anymore.
Right.
I think he knew he was done when he did that interview and was like, I'm just going to say something and then just nail in the coffin. Like
he'll just be he'll be a defensive assistant / defensive coordinator, San Francisco, Tampa, some random play. He'll be fine. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. I mean, the Bears keep stifling the Lions.
The bigger problem that isn't talked about because of what Eberflus did, they go backwards back-to-back plays. I don't even know if they make that field goal. It's a really deep one. Cairo Santos is good. I don't know if he's that good. You can't do that in crunch time. You're
still not done. I'm done with Caleb. Like I know he's your guy.
He was incredible in the second half. He's the reason they came back. It was a horrible first, and he has some stuff to work out because again, he can't do first half really bad, second half really good.
No, and I have under 20 there. Yeah, I got under 20.5 points or under 19.5 points.
Damn.
Shut out in the first half. There's nothing worse than being 1,000% right about a first half bet and then being like, she's done the first half and then leaving alone. It was 7.5 points. I should have known because it was only 7.5 points total for the first half. And I'm like, yeah, but they could just get 10 and then the Lions will shut them down. Anyway, Bears are done. Apparently you're still on the Caleb train. Who's the coach? Who they decided is going to be the coach?
So it's the guy that was the interim offensive coordinator. So he has gone from just like a skill position coach to interim OC to now interim head coach. He's had a great time. I think he might be a Georgia guy. It's Thomas Brooks is the name. So yeah,
good for him.
Team seems to like him. So can't get worse. Cannot get worse. But
yeah. Well, all right, that's that. I'm gonna let you run. If you have any bets, we'll shoot them out to everybody. You recorded this a little bit late. What time did you get home? What time did that game even end last night? Was it midnight?
Yeah. And then I got home at like 3:30. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's one of those nights that I'm sure you always remember. Great game.
Yeah.
Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I'll be here first thing in the morning to speak into existence that our birds destroy their birds as the Ravens play the Eagles. And then we got a handful of other games that we'll talk about. We'll have your bets out later today. And sweet, man. Well, thank you. And glad George pulled it out. Glad you had a good night. I'll see you guys in the morning.
I see you.